Hello, and thank you for purchasing the Warm Woolies mitten kit. These are all the pieces and parts that come in the kit. We're going to start by sewing the liner. The most important part about figuring out your liner is to make sure you end up with a right and a left. I know that sounds silly, but these are all the same on both sides. So you need to make sure you line it up like this to ensure that you have a right and a left. You're going to just put the top part of the mitten on the bottom. That's going to be your thumb, top and bottom. You're going to line it up on the corner here. Just sew a decent seam allowance. These are not perfectly cut. They're hand cut. It's not by a machine. And then when you get about to even with this corner, you're going to veer off here. And then you do the same with the other hand and put your top part of your fleece on there and sew around the perimeter. With your thumb part, let's watch and see. You're gonna stop right before you get to the thumb and lay it over so that you can see where the gap would be, and just make sure you run over that so you don't get a hole right there in your liner. And that is the instructions on how to sew your liner. You're going to want to trim any excess off because it just bulks up the mitten if you have extra fleece in there. And that is one hand. And then you can start on the other one. When sewing the top and the bottom together, always sew with your thumb side up so that you can do your corner here properly, and you can kind of see where you're going because this one has no detail to it. Okay, now we have two liners, and we'll be moving on to the pieces of the mitten, and you're going to lay these out just the same way. You can see each pair is unique. We have the thumbs and then the tops. There's right side and wrong side. You can kind of see on this one, this looks like it would be like the inside of the sweater, and then this has a little bit more of a finished look to it. So you're going to put the right sides together. And start in the corner like we did with the liner. And these are rough cut too. If you've ever cut wool, you'll know it's not easy, and it sure dulls your scissors. So they're not perfect, but just kind of make your guideline all the way around. I usually run this closest to the edge right there, just to make sure you leave enough room for your thumb to get in there, and don't want to cut it too short. And then once again, we're going to veer off about right there. So you can see there's some bulk here. Just take care of that with a little trimming so it's not bulky on the inside of the mitten. And sewing the top on, you can see this is going to be the thumb. You're going to still keep the seam side out. This is your right side. This has a bit of a difference in the cable knit is on the right side, and then it has something different on that side. So you're going to put the right sides together again. And thumb up, thumbs up, and go around the perimeter. I kind of just line it up and stretch it around as I go usually. Make sure you fold the finger down to get over that. You can kind of see it just stretches as you go. Some wools are a little thicker than others and a little bit more difficult to work with. That's why I don't really pin it, I just kind of work it around. So you can see that. Just kind of trim the excess again. Then you're going to do the exact same with the other side. Okay, so we have both of our mittens sewn and both of our liners, and what we're going to do now is just turn them inside out. I typically just kind of look at the seams, make sure there's no holes as you're turning them inside out. And with the liners, you just keep the raw edge out. Kind of just slip it on your hand, put the mitten on over top of it. So that's that. And you want to kind of make sure your liner is lined up with the edge of the mitten for when we do the cuff. And now we will go on to the cuff. Now we're attaching the cuff, so it will look like this. Doesn't make a ton of sense to me when I first started doing this how to put them together, but you're going to make sure your cuff is the right side out. You don't want your seam sticking out, and if you have a seam on yours, I typically tend to kind of shove that towards the back of the mitten, and you shove it in there just like that. And you want to make sure that all of your fleece is sticking out and lining up so that we don't get any gaps between the liner and the cuff. So you can kind of see here, it's just finished off edge and no seams sticking out. Everything's tucked right in there. I typically pin this because it's kind of hard to sew and it's very bulky and moves a little bit if you don't pin it. So as you're going around pinning, make sure that all three pieces of fabric are up to the top of the rim of the mitten. So you can see it's all lining up there. And then you wedge it into the machine. Just kind of pick up your foot to fit it under there. And you can see that all three pieces of fabric are secured under there. Let's This might be a little shaky, but I'm going to keep it zoomed in so you can kind of see. You have to pull this side back so it doesn't get caught in any of the sewing machine's moving parts. So here we go. I just kind of keep pulling back and move along slowly. Whoop, there goes one of my pins. Keep checking to make sure all 3 layers are going through the machine. You can see it there. Just keep going all the way around until you get to your starting point. And then reverse and go forward again. And now we have our cuff. I think you know what's next. You trim. So you get the bulk away. Some cuffs can be really bulky. And then that looks funny, I'm sure, but now when you spin it around and turn it over, then you have a finished cuff. And that's your mitten. Then you can add a button here of your choice, and I usually will just stitch this down with like a hidden stitch, and you're good to go. Thank you for watching this video, and I wish you luck with your DIY mitten kit.